Tiger Woods couldn't believe what he saw. On her very first drive in a prom event, Caitlin Clark launched a 270-yard bomb down the fairway, sending shockwaves through the gallery and silencing any doubts about her transition from basketball to golf. It wasn't just a good shot, it was record-breaking. By the end of the round, she'd gone 13 under.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Landed a risky near eagle on hole 7 and set a new tournament mark that had veteran pros shaking their heads. Woods himself called her swing one of the cleanest and most confident he'd ever witnessed. What started as a casual crossover instantly turned into a cultural milestone as her raw skill eclipsed expectations and forced everyone to reevaluate what athletic brilliance looks like. Her performance wasn't a novelty, it was a declaration. By shattering records and standing toe-to-toe with elite golfers, Clark ignited serious discussions in the LPGA about cross-sport talent and long-term investment. In just one weekend, she transformed from a guest player into a potential cornerstone for a new audience. The LPGA embraced her instantly, with major brands closing multi-million-dollar endorsement deals in days, while the WNBA's comparative silence spoke volumes. Clark's impact revealed a widening gap in how women's leagues promote their stars, and how far raw talent, when properly celebrated, can shift the balance of sports visibility and economics. Tiger Woods in shock as Caitlin Clark breaks huge records and signs massive deals in the LPGA. No, that headline isn't exaggeration. It's exactly what happened. This is the kind of crossover moment that sports fans talk about for years. Caitlin Clark, already dominating headlines as a basketball superstar, just flipped the script on the entire sports world with a jaw-dropping debut in professional golf. What started as a casual prom appearance turned into a record-breaking performance so stunning, so undeniable, it left even Tiger Woods looking speechless. One swing, that's all it took. A 270-yard shot off the tee, clean as glass and straight down the fairway. Not lucky, not a fluke. Just raw, instinctual athletic power. The gallery around her froze. Commentators tripped over their words. And Tiger Woods? He was caught on camera nodding, eyes wide, calling one of the cleanest and most confident swings he'd seen. It didn't stop there. She wasn't just good for a basketball player dabbling in golf. She was elite. She played like someone born with a club in her hand. Her shot on hole 7? A gutsy, calculated approach that landed inches from the cup. That moment sealed it. She ended the round at 13 under par, a new record for the event. This wasn't a feel-good story about an athlete trying something new. This was domination, and the world took notice. Fast, within hours, her name was trending globally. Ticket demand for the event exploded, spiking by over 1,200% overnight. Social media lit up. Fans who didn't know a thing about golf or Caitlin Clark were suddenly asking how they could watch her next round. That's what happens when talent meets timing. And brands? They didn't waste a second. As soon as her name hit the tournament roster, sponsorship offers started flying in. Within days, she'd inked deals with a premium golf apparel line, a luxury watch brand, and a beverage company. Total value? Over $15 million. That's not just impressive, it's historic. To put into perspective, those deals surpass what most WNBA players will earn over the course of their careers. One weekend in golf, and Clark flipped the business model of women's sports on its head. That's the kind of market impact athletes spend decades trying to achieve. The crossover wasn't just lucrative, it was transformative. Caitlin Clark didn't walk into the LPGA to prove she could hang. She walked in and redefined what's possible for athletes across the board. Not just for women, not just for hoopers. For anyone who's been told they have to stay in their lane. Her confidence didn't feel forced. It wasn't performative. It was natural. The kind of calm swagger that doesn't shout. It just shows. And that's what made it magnetic. Everyone from Serena Williams to Patrick Mahomes to LeBron James chimed in. The praise came fast and loud. Not just because she hit the ball far, but because she carried herself like someone who belonged. Even in a space she had never publicly competed in before. This isn't the first time Clark has shown she can shift a narrative. But this might be the most dramatic shift yet. Her success on the course brought up another uncomfortable truth: how different leagues choose to respond to excellence. While the LPGA celebrated her presence and achievements, the WNBA stayed noticeably quiet. The silence was deafening. Fans noticed. Media noticed. The comparison didn't go unnoticed. One league embraced her. Another barely acknowledged her. And that contrast said more than any press release ever could. It sparked a new conversation about how women's sports are promoted, about how some leagues still miss opportunities to elevate their biggest names, about how a talent like Clark shouldn't have to choose between sports or between respect and visibility, because her impact wasn't limited to just golf. In one weekend, she drove a measurable spike in ticket sales, merchandise interest, and digital engagement, not just for the tournament, but for women's sports across the board. It's not a stretch to say she boosted the entire ecosystem, and she did it without drama, without controversy, just by being good. Really, really good. Her presence changed how people perceive crossover athletes, not just as celebrities dabbling in other sports, but as legitimate competitors with the potential to dominate across disciplines. For years, sports culture has celebrated specialization. Stick to your sport. Master one thing. But Clark's rise is challenging that idea in real time. She's proof that elite talent, combined with real work ethic, can transcend boundaries, and not just survive in new arenas, but win in them. The conversation is already shifting. Golf execs are strategizing around her. Events are being built with her in mind. And behind closed doors, some of the most powerful marketing teams in the industry are figuring out how to ride this wave without letting it pass them by. And then there's Tiger Woods, a man who's seen it all, competed against the best, broken records, rewritten the sport, and even he was floored. He wasn't just being polite or supportive. His praise was real. He knows what a swing like that means. He knows the work it takes to put that kind of precision and power behind a golf ball. And when he says your swing is one of the cleanest he's seen, that's not hype. That's validation. There's already buzz that Clark could go full-time in golf if she chooses to. She hasn't made any announcements, but the door is wide open. Tournament organizers are reportedly in talks to secure her for future events. Clinics, exhibitions, co-branded merch lines. The demand is real and it's growing. This isn't just a sports story anymore. It's a culture shift. Clark's rise proves that the old playbook for marketing athletes is outdated. You don't need controversy to get clicks. You don't need a villain arc. You just need real talent, confidence that feels genuine, and a moment that people can connect with. That's what happened here. One swing, one event, one weekend. And now, Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball star or a viral sensation. She's a cross-sport phenomenon, a marketer's dream, and a walking reminder that talent doesn't need permission to grow in new spaces. Her story sends a message, especially to young athletes watching from the sidelines, wondering if they're allowed to try something new, if it's worth the risk, if they'll be taken seriously. She answered that without saying a word. So what's next? Does she go all in on golf? Does she keep balancing both? Does this set the stage for more cross-sport stars to emerge? One thing's certain. She's already changed the landscape. Ticket sales, media buzz, sponsorship dollars, fan engagement, it all points to one undeniable truth. The game isn't just evolving. It's already changed. Caitlin Clark is leading that charge. And whether she's on the court or the course, she's proving that excellence doesn't need to ask for space. It takes it. So let's hear it. Did you expect this kind of performance from her? Do you think she should go pro in golf full-time? And what does this mean for the future of multi-sport athletes? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like if you're impressed. Share this if you think more athletes deserve the freedom to break out of the boxes we put them in. And subscribe if you want to stay on top of the chaos, the brilliance, and the future of sports that refuses to play by the old rules. Caitlin Clark didn't just show up to a golf event. She walked into an elite arena with zero experience on a professional golf stage and immediately shifted the axis of two entire sports. The buzz wasn't just coming from fans or media outlets. It was coming from inside the locker rooms, from sponsors, from front offices. Golfers who spent their entire lives grinding for recognition were suddenly watching a basketball phenom dominate their sport. And not just dominate, but elevate it. Because here's the thing, Caitlin Clark didn't steal the spotlight. She became the spotlight. When she stepped onto that course, pair of the world's top-ranked golfer in what was supposed to be a fun prom, the tone shifted almost instantly. People came for curiosity. They left talking about history. You could feel it when she launched that 270-yard drive on the opening hole. It wasn't just a long shot. It was a statement. That swing echoed through social media timelines, through sports radio, through every industry exec try to figure out how one weekend changed their entire marketing forecast. And for a league like the LPGA, this was lightning in a bottle. Attendance surged. Merch sales spiked. The tournament trended for days, even pushing men's tour coverage to the background. Because Caitlin Clark was the story. Brands jumped in like they were chasing gold. Because they were. Her endorsement deals rolled in fast. Luxury watch brands, premium apparel lines, beverage giants. It wasn't just that she played well. It was how easily her appeal translated across markets. She didn't have to fake anything. Her personality, her confidence, her presence, it all felt real. That's what makes her such a powerful force. She doesn't have to pretend to be an icon. She just is. And yet, even with the LPGA embracing her, the WNBA remained curiously silent. That silence, it was louder than any headline. Fans called out immediately. Why was there no official statement? No congrats post? No celebratory shout-out from the league she helped drag into the mainstream? The people who'd benefited from her spotlight suddenly had nothing to say when she lit up another sport. That disconnect sparked a whole new debate about how we recognize talent, about how leagues treat players once they step outside the brand bubble, and about how some organizations still struggle to embrace the kind of innovation and crossover appeal that actually drives growth. It's a stark contrast. The LPGA said, yes, and more. The WNBA said, nothing. And that nothing, it spoke volumes. Because while Caitlin Clark was out there redefining what's possible, breaking golf records, landing multi-million-dollar deals, earning praise from Tiger Woods himself, the league that should be celebrating her louder than anyone chose to play it safe. That's not just a missed opportunity. That's a missed moment. One that reflects a deeper tension in how we view women's sports. For years, the message has been, show us something special and we'll support you. But now that Caitlin is doing something special, suddenly there are conditions. Don't grow too fast. Don't overshadow others. Don't shake the system. But she's shaking it anyway. Because real talent? It doesn't wait for permission. And Clark's record-setting performance wasn't just athletic brilliance. It was a cultural shift. She proved that audiences want to be surprised. That fans do care about women's sports when they're marketed boldly, when the talent is front and center, and when the story is allowed to breathe. Her whole 7-shot, landing inches from the pin after a daring risk, was the kind of play that legends are made of. The fact that it came from someone with no formal golf background made it mythic. That shot got reposted millions of times. It made highlight reels. It made history. And when Tiger Woods acknowledges your swing, you don't need anyone else's validation. But Clark got it anyway. From Serena, Mahomes, LeBron, and a wave of fans who weren't even watching golf before she showed up. This isn't just about one athlete's rise. It's about what she represents. She represents a break from the old rules. The idea that athletes should stay in their lane? Gone. That women can't draw crowds in niche sports? Shattered. That viral moments don't translate into real revenue? Proven false in real time. Ticket sales, sponsorships, and media rights are all up because of one weekend. But let's be very clear. This didn't come out of nowhere. Caitlin Clark has earned this. She didn't walk onto that course hoping for a fluke. She came prepared. She came focused. And she delivered. And now, golf organizations are scrambling to figure out what's next. Because this isn't a one-time event. This is a future business model. Multi-sport athletes. Crossover stars. Talent that translates across platforms and fan bases. This is a future. And Clark is writing the blueprint. There are already discussions happening. behind the scenes and in the press, about what her next golf appearance will be, whether she'll commit to more proms, whether she'll play competitively, whether the LPGA can lock her in for promotional events, branded content, or even a part-time tour schedule. And honestly, it all depends on her, because for the first time, she holds all the leverage, and her presence on the course isn't just good for business. It's good for the culture of the sport. Golf has long struggled with perception issues, elitism, exclusivity, a lack of youth engagement. Caitlin Clark brought in new fans, younger audiences, and diverse engagement. She made golf cool again, and she did it without changing who she is. There was no reinvention, no rebranding. Just Caitlin Clark showing up, being excellent, and letting the game catch up to her. That's the kind of shift you can't fake. You can't manufacture in a boardroom or script it in a campaign. It's real and people feel that. That's why it matters. So, where do we go from here? That's the question rattling across sports media right now. Will other athletes start exploring crossover opportunities? Will brands finally catch up to the fact that women athletes drive real value across platforms? Will leagues stop resisting change and start embracing the power of multidimensional talent? Caitlin Clark isn't asking for any of that. She's just doing her thing. But her presence is forcing everyone else to rethink theirs. And in that sense, she's not just a standout athlete, she's a disruptor. She's what happens when talent refuses to fit into pre-approved box. She's the proof that hard work, charisma, and authentic confidence can rewrite the rules. And honestly, she's just getting started. So if you're still underestimating Caitlin Clark, good luck catching up. She's already rewritten basketball history. Now she's breaking records in golf. And in the process, she's expanding what success looks like, not just for women athletes, but for all athletes. Because real greatness doesn't stay in one lane. It creates new ones. There's a reason Caitlin Clark's name hasn't left your feed for weeks. This isn't just about a viral clip or a one-time performance that made the highlight reel. This is the kind of moment that sports executives, agents, and rival athletes watch with both awe and anxiety. Because what Caitlin did in that LPGA prom wasn't just shocking, it was disruptive. And you can bet people are scrambling behind the scenes. Here's what makes this whole thing even more unreal. Caitlin didn't step onto that golf course as a sideshow. She wasn't there to make content or for some gimmicky crossover appearance. She was there to compete. And the numbers prove she didn't just hold her own. She owned the moment. Her 13 under par score wasn't just impressive for a debut. It was a record in a field packed with seasoned pros, players with years of tournament experience, people who've trained their entire careers for that stage. And Caitlin? She comes in, swings like she's been on tour for years, and suddenly the entire LPGA is on fire with buzz it hasn't seen in years. Even players on the tour were stunned, not just by her distance, which is elite even by pro standards, but by her composure. There's a big difference between hitting a great shot and knowing what to do when the world's watching. She made it look easy. Tiger Woods didn't just give her a pat on the back. He publicly acknowledged the quality of her swing, noting her rhythm, her control, her confidence. That kind of praise doesn't come easy from someone like Tiger. He doesn't throw compliments around. If he says you've got it, you've got it. And now, people are talking about whether she's about to become the face of modern athleticism. Not just because she's good at two sports, but because she's changing the game in both. Her basketball career was already historic. In the NCAA, she shattered scoring records, redefined women's college basketball viewership, and packed arenas in a way that hadn't been done before. When she entered the WNBA, she brought an entire fan base with her. Merchandise flew off shelves. TV ratings hit new highs. She was a storyline. Now she walks onto a golf course, does what she just did, and proves that her draw isn't limited to one sport. It's universal. And that changes everything. For decades, athletes have been told to specialize. Pick your lane. Stick to it. Don't confuse the brand. Don't dilute your focus. But Clark is proving, that great athletes don't need to be boxed in. That crossover success isn't just possible. It's lucrative, powerful, and culturally necessary. She's not asking for the system to adapt. She's just being so undeniably good that the system has to. And the money? It's flowing. Endorsement deals totaling more than $15 million in a matter of days. That doesn't happen because you hit one good shot. That happens because you embody something that transcends your sport. Clark's appeal is rooted in something very few athletes have: mass crossover relevance and authenticity. She's not manufactured. She's not scripted. Her confidence feels real because it is real, whether it's draining threes or sinking birdie putts. She plays like someone who knows she belongs, and fans can see that. That's why she draws people in. She's elite, but she's not untouchable. She's confident, but she's not arrogant. And in a sports landscape filled with choreographed personas, that authenticity is priceless. But here's where things get more complicated and more revealing. While golf embraced her with open arms, the WNBA's reaction, or lack thereof, was confusing. No congratulatory post, no shared clip, no acknowledgement of her golf success, just radio silence. And that silence raised some serious questions. Why wouldn't the league celebrate one of their own absolutely dominating in another professional sport? Why wouldn't they ride that momentum, link her success back to the league, and show the world that WNBA players are that talented? Instead, the LPGA got the headlines, the sponsors, the viral attention, and the WNBA stood still. Fans noticed, and they were loud about it. Because in 2025, when visibility is everything, failing to amplify your biggest star, especially when she's expanding your league's relevance, isn't just a missed opportunity. It's a strategic mistake. It also shines a light on an uncomfortable truth. Some institutions are still afraid of what happens when a player outgrows a system. Clark's growth isn't just athletic. It's cultural. She's not just a player anymore. She's a platform. And when an athlete becomes bigger than the league, tension always follows. But instead of fighting that, league should be evolving with it. Because Caitlin Clark isn't asking for control. She's showing what happens when you let talent lead, and the public is ready to follow. That's what separates Clark from every other headline athlete right now. It's not just that she plays well. It's that her presence shifts energy. She brings fans from one sport into another. She brings brands to the table. She brings new eyeballs to women's sports. That's more than marketability. That's power. And now, the question isn't whether she could go full-time in golf. It's whether she wants to. Because if she does, the LPGA is ready. Brands are ready. Fans are more than ready. She could headline exhibitions, drive ticket sales, and bring an entirely new generation into the sport. And all of it, every deal, every moment, is on her terms. That's where this story lands with the most impact. Because Clark didn't beg for these opportunities. She created them. With her game, with her mindset, and with a career that refuses to follow a script. That's what makes her dangerous, in the best way possible. She's what sports has been waiting for. A multi-sport threat with mainstream appeal, record-breaking skill, and a presence that demands attention without asking for it. So whether she's draining threes or dropping birdies, one thing is clear. Caitlin Clark owns a moment, and everyone else, they're just trying to keep up. So let's open it up. What do you think? Should Clark split her time between basketball and golf? Should the WNBA have done more to celebrate her LPGA success? And are we looking at the future of multi-sport stardom right now, in real time? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like if you respect greatness in any sport. Share this if you think it's time athletes had the freedom to be more. And subscribe because stories like this, they're just getting started.